Hello, folks. I know it's really late, so I'm gonna go ahead and make this pretty short. This is part one. I'll do part two tomorrow night, and I'm planning to do an open topic tomorrow night as well. So let's just go ahead and move on. Now, what I'm going to do is there was a live stream by Behind the Curve. And I'll go and zoom it in a little bit. Oh wait, not Behind the Curve. There's a live stream from Wisecrack. Now Wisecrack has 2.5 million subscribers, and they did a live stream on March 11th, and I kind of covered it because I noticed and I was like, wow, they're talking about Flat Earth, but it's because they watched Behind the Curve, the documentary on Netflix. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cover it now. It is like an hour and 24-minute long. It's an hour and 24-minute long live stream, so I'll probably cover maybe 30 minutes of it and then cover the extra hour and 15 tomorrow night. Now, what I will be doing is I'll be stopping to talk about some of the things that they're going over and just maybe talk about a few things from my perspective. And, of course, if you want to join in, please feel free to do that. If you want to go ahead and watch the video, it is unlisted. So if you go to Wisecrack's channel, you're not going to find it. The only way to get a lot of these live streams from any channel, you have to subscribe to them, and you'll get email notification. You have to click that bell. And so in this case, yes, they did do a live stream, and they talked about it. Now, it wasn't that many views, 19,075 views. But I think it's kind of interesting that they actually are covering it, which is weird because, well, you know, Flat Earth topics I thought YouTube was kind of blocking in a way. We'll see. All right, so I'm going to mute myself. I'm going to play it back. You can see the live chat. And if I see a part, or I think there's a part where I want to say something, I'll probably pause it and say my piece. All right, here we go.
We are getting ready, which means we'll probably be live in 5 seconds.
Oh, it's because I got these.
Yeah, that's his favorite.
We are live.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Show Me the Meaning, Wisecrack's movie podcast.
Show me the meaning.
My name is Jared, and I'm joined here with the Show Me the Meaning crew. We got Greg.
What's up? What's up?
And Alec.
Hey.
And joining us again is Claire. What's up, Claire?
Hello, I'm so happy to be here.
Happy to have you. So today we're talking about the 2018 documentary Behind the Curve, directed by Daniel J. Clark. Yes, this is the Flat Earther documentary. So as always, we're going to go around and get general thoughts about the documentary. By the way, I should mention that previously, Claire, Greg, and I had done the Firefest documentary. We got a lot of positive feedback about doing documentaries in general. So we are doing a second try with the Flat Earth documentary. So I want to hear not only what did you think about the documentary, but how far down the rabbit hole have you gone with Flat Earth theory? Let's start with Greg.
Well,
You guys, we are getting really bad echo on our end.
Oh,
okay.
Everyone in the comments is...
okay.
Okay, Mitch fixed it. We should be good now.
All right. So, Greg, what did you think of the documentary, and how far down the rabbit hole have you gone with Flat Earth?
Well, I think as the biggest flat earther here, I love flat earther stuff, man. I dig it. I love when people just are like, fuck what everybody else thinks. I'm going deep into it. I watch all conspiracy theory type of stuff on YouTube. Flat Earther conspiracy, like the big tree. You know, where have you heard of the big tree conspiracy theory?
I have not gone down the rabbit hole very far, so please enlighten me.
Alien conspiracy theory. They have one thing where they like old volcanoes or like tree stumps. And they're saying that the trees that we really have in the world are not really even trees. They're like grass compared to the trees that we used to have.
Okay. So what Greg Edwards is talking about is not part of Flat Earth. It has nothing to do with Flat Earth specifically. It's just one of those extra rabbit holes. That's someone, some Russian fella made a video of, and it's an interesting one, but it's not really about Flat Earth. It doesn't it's kind of related, but not necessarily. I mean, it could be a globe Earth thing. It's a separate topic. It's, if you want to go ahead and watch what he's talking about, what you do is you Google or just do a search on YouTube or Google it, and there are no forests on Flat Earth. And so that's what he's talking about. It really has nothing to do with the Earth being flat. It's kind of like an extra layer. It is a good rabbit hole to go down, but I don't think it's really pertinent to is the Earth really flat like they're trying to talk about. So let's continue on.
We used to have like...
Oh, shit, I've heard this. Yeah.
So, I mean, that's like another conspiracy theory that's on YouTube. Alien conspiracy theory, government, presidential...
Greg, have you heard the Avril Lavigne is actually dead? That's my favorite one.
No.
Oh, that's a great one.
That sounds good, though. I can see that. I mean, I just like that people... I don't like people just believing stuff because the government or anybody else tells them to believe things, right? So, I mean, I might see myself as conspiracy theories myself, but I appreciate people having something that they truly feel so strongly about and can create a group about it and just deal with. I mean, these flat earthers have their own flat earther rap music. When I saw that shit really made me laugh so much. I dug the movie. It made me happy that a guy as like corny as Mark can have a group of people that look up to him like that. It's like, look at this dude. This dude like is a loser. It's like the epitome of a loser, right? And he has so many people that like deal with him, and he wouldn't have this if he didn't have the Flat Earther crew and this beautiful girl that I'm like, Mark, come on, man, you're never gonna do better than.
Again, ad hominem attacks, loser. So what makes you better? And of course, it's just perception of the documentary. Anyways, let's keep going. Just thought I'd just chime in there.
This is like duh, put a ring on her right now. I dug the movie, and yeah, I like flat earthers. They seem fun to me.
So you watch flat Earth videos for fun?
I watch all. Yes. The answer is yes.
How has it ever almost convinced you?
No, because I mean, I'm at this point in my life that I don't really believe. I don't believe the Earth is flat. I also don't believe the Earth is round.
Oh, come on. You don't believe the Earth is round? No, nonsense.
No.
Guys, all right. I've never seen it. I've never been in space.
All right. You know what? My whole mantra when entering this discussion is that I really hate it when people say, like, I just don't understand how people can believe blank.
Yeah.
Because to me, if you're saying that, really, I guess what you're saying is that you don't want to understand it or that they refuse to try. So I kind of want to go into this with, instead of saying I don't understand how people could believe the Earth is flat, I want to try to understand. And one of the challenges is, like, how do I say that without seeming disparaging or seeming like I'm looking down upon flat earthers? And I've kind of come to the conclusion that it's an impossible conundrum. But anyway, all right, let's move on with Alec. Alec, what'd you
Well, first off, what do you observe? That's an easy one. Let's say NASA. Let's say there were, okay. I wanted to do a separate video, and I will do it one night. I don't know when. It should be an easy one. It should be a quick one. Maybe I'll do it tomorrow if there's time. But basically, it's this. If you had the resources of NASA and the United States government, you were in charge. You're the president of the United States, whatever. You were in charge of everything. And you were going to go ahead and convince once and for all that the Earth is a globe. What would you do? You have all the resources in the world. I mean, NASA, you tell NASA what to do. You tell the US government what to do. You tell SpaceX what to do. What do you do to finally convince flat earthers that the Earth is actually a globe and it's not flat? How about you take a picture or video, 360 around the ISS, you go out back to the moon, you put a live camera, 24 hours pointing to the Earth. Should be pretty simple, right? Yet NASA, SpaceX, US government, they don't do that. Any ordinary Joe can come up with a convincing way to verify that the Earth is a globe. Yet we don't get that from NASA, SpaceX, US government, whatever. We don't get real photos. We don't get videos that are 360 panoramic, VRs. Like 360 VR has been around for a couple years now, virtual reality. You don't have that in space. That seems like that'd be something cool to do. Or 24-hour live feed from within the ISS. Just what it's like day in, day out. Just kind of following someone around or a couple of astronauts around inside the space station. And just constant weightlessness. And, you know, rather than just topics of them talking or doing tricks, you just follow them around, them doing work. And anyways, just so much you can do. Now, another thing is when you just think about it with NASA, how many videos, hours of videos did they take when they landed on the moon? 6 out of 6 times. How many pictures did they take? Thousands. Now, how many of pictures and videos were there of Earth? I think there's just one photo and one small video that was kind of private. You know, you would think that of all those pictures and videos of kind of a lifeless moon, seemingly lifeless moon, that you would actually have pictures of Earth. I mean, I would take hundreds, if not thousands, of pictures on Earth as I was flying away and as I'm flying towards the Earth. Not one. You got a couple of different photos now that are just the compilations of different sets of data. Not just one picture, really. I mean, these guys won't think of it that way, but that's fine. Everyone goes on their own way as far as figuring things out like that.
Think of the documentary, and how far down the rabbit hole have you gone?
I loved it. As you know, Jared, but maybe nobody else knows, I'm writing a script about just flat Earth in general and the philosophy of science for Wisecrack, obviously. And it's hard to write because I'll have an idea in my head, like, oh, here's an experiment that disproves flat Earth, or then all of a sudden it'll come in my head, it's like, wait, what do flat earthers think about like solar eclipses? And then I'll Google it and there's some batshit explanation and lunar eclipses. And I'm like, wait, but what about this? And just every time I start writing a sentence, the thought, but what about this pops in my head. And there is some counter explanation by flat earthers that I spend way too much time reading. And there's like also competing interpretations of what causes solar eclipses or lunar eclipses or how. So you never know if you're reading like the right source of like flat earth material, if you're just going for the shitty version of the argument. So I've wasted too much of my time doing this, and I love the documentary. So that's about it.
Okay. Claire, what about you?
So I have spent maybe the last couple years being semi-invested in the flat Earth conspiracy theory. I am not actually as much anymore. So watching this documentary was kind of like taking a trip back to 2017 for me, when I was part of a lot of flat Earth Facebook groups, and much more invested in it then. I never watched a lot of YouTube videos, mostly because it would just like fuck up my algorithm. And then, I'm getting like ads for anti-vaxxer videos and etc. But I did read, I was part of a lot of Facebook groups, and, I read a lot of posts on there. And so I guess not right now, but having been previously very familiar with flat Earth ideas, it was really interesting seeing the video. A lot of it I was familiar with, like the idea of doing the laser experiments and the real push against scientism, and some of it was new, and some of it I was surprised that they didn't go into more. For a lot of people in the flat Earth community, for example, they put a big emphasis on the biblical basis. There's they mentioned this briefly in the documentary, but there's somewhere in the Bible, there is a piece of scripture that talks about the firmament. Genesis. It's in Genesis? Okay, thank you. Yeah.
I looked this up today under one of my long rabbit holes.
Okay, so you had a today rabbit hole. I'm like trying to like dredge back a lot of this old memory. And I was surprised that the only person who I can recall in the documentary who actually talked about that, and it was dismissed pretty quickly, was Sunglasses Guy in the beginning, who was my favorite, by the way, the one who went up to the woman in the car and was like, yo, have you heard of flat Earth? Also, they want to inject us with public schools.
The guy with sledgehammers and ping pong balls.
Yeah, the one who was a brain coach.
Right, yeah, the brain coach.
So I don't know if right now is the time. I would love to tell the story of how I got introduced to flat Earth.
I actually wanted to hear a little bit about that, because I asked you to be on this podcast not knowing at all that you had interest in this subject. So this is kind of super surprising for me. So you got to give us something.
Oh yeah. Well, okay. So I have a few things. I'll tell you how I got introduced to it, and then at some point, I want to talk about this philosopher who I really like called Brian Keeley, who works mostly on conspiracy theories, and the way he talks about conspiracy theories as a kind of epistemology and what it reveals about the way that people see the world. And I think that has a lot of explanatory power in terms of understanding, how can somebody believe that? And so I would really like to talk about that at some point. But for right now, let me tell you the story of how I learned about the flat Earth.
Please.
So I live in Eugene, Oregon, and we have an airport, but it's tiny. So for big flights, or if you want to take anything other than United and Delta, you drive up to PDX, the Portland airport. And there's a shuttle that you can take that runs every hour or so that will pick you up on the University of Oregon campus and take you up to PDX. And I've taken that shuttle dozens of times. So I was taking that shuttle up to PDX in, I don't know, 2017 probably. And it was me and a bunch of like really quiet international students who were not talking, and a very, very talkative driver who started almost right away talking about how the Earth is flat. And this was a new idea for me. And, I'm an inquisitive person, so I started asking questions and more questions and more questions.
Gosh, that is a long build-up. If they ask me, I would just say Stephen Hawking and 3 birds. They're what convinced me that the Earth was more likely flat than a globe. And it's pretty easy. If you just go to my channel, go to videos, you'll find it. It's called PBS's Genius by Stephen Hawking Show Fakes Debunking of Flat Earth, Why Fake It? And it started off with before that I did a live stream. Well, right after I did a live stream. But basically, look. It's 3 minutes, 17 seconds long.
Yeah, I have you on the telescope. Go ahead and land.
So we see that snippet where the helicopter goes over the horizon of the water. You can't see it, therefore there's a curve, right? Look at those three birds. Well, when you keep watching this show, you're going to see a very, very quick snippet of those three birds again. Watch.
As it lands, it completely disappears from my line of sight.
Now, that is big fake assery. Focus on those three birds again.
Let me know when you can see us on spots of the horizon.
All right, this time the helicopter is going above the horizon, the globe curve. Yet those three birds are there again, so they reshoot the same video snippet now. Why would they do this? And then, of course, you're probably not convinced, so, well, let's keep watching. I'll do a side-by-side and a slowdown of the video.
I got him. I got him.
I mean, it's quick. You have to catch it.
As it lands...
See that? All right, now this time it's in sync. Split screen. All right, so that was quick. Let's slow it down. I mean, the second video snippet of the same three birds, it's quick. It's, I think, a second or 2 seconds long. It's not very long at all. It's hard to sync it because it's different speed. So the best way to do it is snapshot by snapshot. And it's pretty easy to show. My take on it is those three birds, they just did a 360. You know, they circle jerked all the way back around and did the same flying pattern. And true blue, that is not fake, you idiot. Well, you know, there's only adults here. So, let's see. Let's hide yourself. Have fun. All right, so as you can see, snapshot by snapshot. Very easy to see. Same birds, same patterns. One with a helicopter, one without. Now, if you want to see more details, you can easily go to the live stream I did after that. First one, it covers how you've got a... I did a quick video. And let's see, where did it go? I think I just did it live. Oh no, it's here. Cat Bobino. I heard this last night while listening to Jeranism. Then I searched around and found the same information I'm presenting on D Marple's channel, along with other channels. However, I thought I'd add my little bit to it.
My name is Kat Bobino, and I am a scientist. I graduated with a bachelor's in biology, and I graduated cum laude. I received my master's in biology at Cal State East Bay in Hayward, California. You can check me out on television with a cat nose, on YouTube with In the Know with Kat Bobino, and at my website, katbobino.com. I'm Kat Bobino, and I am a scientist.
Kat Bobino, I am a scientist. Now let's look at a very, very similar looking lady named Kat Bobino. Not a scientist.
I've asked 3 ordinary people to come on a journey of discovery.
You're probably going, but Ebon, I checked the PBS site for the show, and it doesn't show Cat Babino anywhere as a cast member. It could just be coincidence that there's a black woman named Cat that looks exactly like her. Then I would reply, then just right-click on the website's page and click View Source. Then do a search for Cat Babino. You'll see the names of the cast members. Here's the odd thing. On the View Source, her name is spelled Cat Babino, like the way I've been spelling it, but she actually has an O instead of an A, and it should be Cat Babino. Really weird.
It worked. I'm not a scientist, and to be able to just do that off a whim and it just came to me, that was incredible. My name is Cat Babino, and I am a scientist. It worked. I'm not a scientist, and to be able to just do that off a whim and it just came to me, that was incredible. My name is Cat Babino, and I am a scientist. I'm not a scientist.
So there's Cat Babino and Cat Bobino. One's a scientist, one's not a scientist. They look eerily alike. She appears on the PBS show Genius by Stephen Hawking, where of course they edited that video. Now, if I go back to Fake Scientist, the live stream I did, I go over a little bit of the, and I can always do this again. What I do is go over the whole video where I make the snapshots and where I go over everything. It's pretty easy, and you can go and watch it. It just goes over how I just made the snapshots. Don't need to edit the video to fake it, because look, you can go to another video of mine, and what I'm showing through 3 do not watch is this. I just have the timestamps of the Amazon Prime video, and it's in the description box. All you have to do is go to the time at 7:90 and go to the time at 8:48. Same video, same Amazon URL, it's just the time differences is what's different. Now when you go to the different videos in Amazon itself, you can see that they are exactly, you could watch the difference, you can watch the differences, but here you can see that they're exactly the same birds flying across the water, one helicopter going up, the other going down. So that's it. Pretty positive, pretty easy. I didn't fake it. PBS Genius by Stephen Hawking did. This was the thing. You know, I was looking into Flat Earth, and it was pretty simple. The editor obviously didn't catch this. They didn't expect anyone to catch a second or 2 seconds worth of a video that they showed, but people did catch it. And do I play it back? I think I do. Watch at the 14-minute and 9-second mark, because if you do, you're gonna end up looking into details, you're going to end up thinking, you're going to ask questions. Well, let's look at the description. Yeah. So 13-minute and 11-second mark and a 14-minute and 9-second mark. You can easily watch those videos. If you have Amazon, it goes directly to the link to the original video. And there you go. You can watch the entire show by yourself if you want. But if you just want a direct link to watch those, that's it. All right. Now let's go back to Behind the Curve.
and it's a 2-hour drive from Eugene to the Portland airport. And I felt so bad for the rest of the students in the car. But it was me and this flat earth driver going back and forth. And, he was telling me all of the different justifications for it. But what was much more interesting was hearing about his personal life. He told me, just, some random person in the van he was driving, that his wife was in the process of divorcing him because he was a flat earther. That his children didn't talk to him, that he would spend probably an average of 5 hours on the internet every single day when he got off his shift, looking just at flat earth theories, watching YouTube videos, reading forum posts, and that it had really kind of taken over his life, but that it was worth it to know the truth. And so I learned, a bit about some of the justifications for it, but also about what it had done to this man's personal life. And in the documentary, they present it as being kind of positive and happy, but they do also show the impact it can have on personal relationships. And when I was talking to this driver, I did not hear a happy man. This conspiracy theory that he truly believed with all his heart was not a fun pastime, and it seemed like it had kind of ruined his life. So that was my introduction to it. Obviously, as soon as I got to Portland Airport, I just started frantically Googling.
Because you wanted to ruin your life.
Well, yeah, hold on. You were frantically Googling because, hey, this guy may have convinced me, or like, what was it exactly?
Because he wasn't very good at explaining things, to be honest. But he, from what I remember, he told me, okay, well, there are people who are familiar with the science who have shown that, the curvature of an airplane or the curvature of a flight path that an airplane takes doesn't go over this or this area, and it can't because of the ice wall, and, this and this other thing in the solar system can be shown to be part of a dome. He was a dome believer. And but he wasn't doing a good job describing it, but he made it clear that there were, more convincing explanations online. And he kept telling me, just Google it. I'm not doing a good job explaining. So I was like, okay, well, I think this is a ridiculous idea, but it's also a very interesting idea. And that's what catches people about flat Earth, right? That's why we all kind of love it, is because it's really interesting. The idea that a thing that was ostensibly disproven during the Enlightenment now has millions of followers again. That's a really interesting idea, because something like 9/11 truthers, it's there's like a certain appeal to any conspiracy theory, but it doesn't take back an old pre-Enlightenment idea and make it fresh again. And I think that's something that's kind of really interesting about flat Earth. So I'll wrap up my little story.
Yeah, no, I'm super glad that we have you on here, because I had no idea. And I can't wait to hear more about what you dug up during your time exploring the subculture. I like the documentary a lot. I'm actually glad to hear that you have some actual life experience dealing with flat earthers, because it's funny, a lot of the documentary plays into what I would assume is going on here, is that these people really need a sense of community, they really need a sense of identity, and they've seemingly glommed onto this thing that...
Well, we don't all need a sense of community. I do like to talk with other people who are flat earthers and gain the sense of how they came to the same conclusion as me, because we all come from different perspectives, different realizations. And I like to tell my story as well. Big science guy, me, big technology person, engineering person, whatever it is, I'm into it. Space, science fiction, space operas, big into it. I could talk someone's ears off, the geekiness and the nerdiness that I grew up with. And the thing is do you know more than me? And you go, oh, who is Ebon? What does he know? He's obviously uneducated. Well, come and talk to me about it. Let's have a conversation. Let's see how much you know compared to me. I'll bet you I know a lot more. And why is that? It's like, oh, well, your excuse was, oh, you think you know so much, blah, 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 but you don't know any better than Einstein and Newton and all these other great scientists. You think you're better than them? It's like, no, I don't. But what they did isn't really the scientific method. Where's their experiment? It's just a assertion, really. Can't repeat any of the tests. And that's why I kind of like listening to Nathan Oakley. He keeps going over and over it, and it sinks in. It's like, yeah, that's right. We've been indoctrinated into scientism. They taught us early what scientific method was, and how to run scientific experiments is pretty easy. And then you look into certain things as they know exactly the distance of between here and the sun or here and the moon, because they've got special instruments that can measure those things. Before, it was just based off of math and observations, and then later on they use different types of instruments. And then you look into the instruments, you don't get a name of the instruments, or you get a name. You get no pictures of the instruments. You get no blueprints of the instruments. You get no video of them actually running the test. They just say it's very expensive instrument that measures these things, and that's all they tell you. All you have to do is look into the details, and you're going to find that you don't get any details that you need or want. It's not repeatable. You just have to take their word for it. It's like if you're going to trust the government saying, we're going to invade Iraq because they've got weapons of mass destruction. It's like, how would we know? They won't let us look. How would we know? They just have people tell us from the military or from some CIA personnel or some journalist that have authorization to go over there and check things out. You know, hey, I'm a civilian citizen journalist. I'm going to go and see if they have weapons of mass destruction. And government's like, no, you can't go there. It's restricted. It's national security. Anyways, let's keep going.
Speaks to our state of wanting to be constantly disillusioned that we are in today. You know, I think Alec and I'll talk about how we're all just addicted to the red pill. It's, you know, everyone wants to be disillusioned from something. Everyone wants to hear that something has always been a lie or something like that, because they get this sense of gratification from feeling like they've unveiled the truth and that there was nothing but lies, but now they know reality. Yeah, go ahead, Alec.
Yeah, I just want to butt in because some of the research that I'm actually, one of our interns helped pull this up. Psychologists have studied conspiracy theorists in general, not just flat earthers. And we've kind of talked about this idea, but I guess one of the well-argued psychological positions is that there are two things that correlate strongly to conspiracy theories. One is feeling powerless, like the inability to affect change in the world. And the second one is feeling like socially isolated. And there's a lot of different articles that talk about, for instance, how sometimes people can glom around conspiracy theories around sort of a social identity. So I don't even think it's necessarily new, like internet age. Obviously, it's taken on its own form. But even if you think about conspiracy theories about in Nazi Germany during the 1930s, you have this sort of social identity component. And that's not the only way the social identity pops up. But another article is arguing it gives people a sense of cognitive
dissonance or whatever they're going to talk about. And these guys going by a psychologist saying, hey, there's something not right about these conspiracy theorists. And then us conspiracy theorists is, okay, have there been conspiracies in the past? And then you're going to answer yes, because if you answer no, we're going to come up with a whole bunch where there have been conspiracies in the past that's even been admitted by the conspirators, by the U.S. government. And so if you say, again, yes, okay, there have been conspiracies, but just because there have been conspiracies in the past doesn't mean that there's conspiracies now. And then there's plenty of conspiracies that are going on now that we keep uncovering. And then it's just all I have to say is just brainwashing or hypnotism. I hate to say it. People won't talk about the issue. They keep saying, I don't want to, just like Bjorn, you want to go ahead and want to not take it seriously or whatever. You keep going off except for talking about the topic itself. Flat Earth, like, give me your best representation. What is gravity? What is gravity? That's pretty much the number one rebuttal of. That's why the Earth is a globe, because of gravity. And then I'm gonna ask you, well, is gravity a force or not a force? Are you going through Newton's law of gravitational force, or are you going through Einstein's field equations? Because Einstein's field equations use the gravitational constant from Newton, and Newton gets the gravitational constant from is it not Aristarchus, another fella who pretty much did an experiment, made an observation and said, look, here we are at the summer solstice at noon exactly at the equator, and there's no shadow directly overhead. And then at another location on the same exact time, I don't know who he coordinated with, and technology back then, it took days to probably get to that different location, or he just went to that location exactly a year from that time and took measurements in a different place at noon, and said, okay, here's the shadow, here's the degrees, and we're going to just go ahead and divide it by 360 degrees because we're going to assert that the Earth is round, a sphere, and thus that's how we get the gravitational constant. But then again, you realize, hey, where did they get that 360 degrees from? Where do they see that observation that the Earth is a globe? We can't. They're just basically asserting that the Earth is a globe, and thus divided by 360 degrees. So that's it. That's where it goes and stops. And so in all those theories that they have nice mathematical equations. They don't have any experiments where you can go ahead and run yourself. And then when you do run those math equations and experiments, however way that they set it up, and there really aren't experiments. The only one is the one with the shadows with the stick. And then you realize, hey, so where did they get that 360 degrees from? We just have to imagine that the Earth is a sphere and use that 360 degrees, and then we get the equatorial the distance of the mean distance, the radius of the Earth. That's just to pretty much sum it up. That's pretty easy, and of course it doesn't add up. And then you can say, well, second law of thermodynamics, space is a vacuum, is well, if a vacuum needs a container, so where's the container in space? And you're not going to figure that out because there isn't a container in space. And then you've got scientists saying now that, hey, Earth, the moon is part of Earth's atmosphere. So all that stuff at the moon, how does that fit in? All right. So let's go ahead and keep going.
Closure, it makes sense of a world that is otherwise seemingly chaotic, and again, just that powerlessness, and it gives closure to that.
Interesting. Yeah, so I quite liked the documentary. In terms of going down the rabbit hole, I have not really. I've seen a flat Earth video. There's a YouTube channel, I can't remember what it's called, but there's a guy who has conversations. He has like hour-long conversations, and one of his videos was called An Hour-Long Conversation with a Flat Earther, and I watched maybe like 20 minutes of that, and I thought that was pretty interesting. There was one video I watched that kind of just made me depressed because the video was not very well reasoned. Just, if you know about, just in terms of structuring an argument, the guy would use a lot of quotes he would basically just use a lot of quotes that these famous scholars or academics have said, which are basically encouraging people to question everything and just kind of slotting that in without any actual relevancy to the flat earth points he was bringing up. And so I stopped watching it. So I haven't really gone deep down the rabbit hole, but like everyone else, I'm generally culturally aware of the flat earth thing. But I like this documentary a lot. I mean, like Greg was saying, Mark and Patricia, it's... At one point when I thought it was going to become a love story between the two of them, I was like, oh, this is kind of cute.
Yeah, good for Mark.
Yeah, I like this. But, I mean, the scenes with them together, I really feel like I'm watching middle schoolers date. And I'm trying not to be disparaging about this. I don't know. Please know that I am in my...
Like, the easiest thing for them to do, really, is talk with Mark Sargent. He'll interview anybody. Probably talk with Patricia Steer. I think she will probably also talk and interview with anybody and talk about their relationship, that there really isn't a relationship. I've interviewed Mark Sargent. Me. You know how many subs I got? I've got... Where do I got? 1,093 subs, and I think when I interviewed Mark Sargent, I had less than 1,000. I mean, my views are pretty piddly, but... You know, let's see. Where's Mark Sargent? Mark. All right, see? 2 months ago, I interviewed Mark Sargent. Almost 2 hours long. I mean, Mark Sargent has a couple thousand. And let's look and see. Mark Sargent. He's got 77,000 subs. He would probably gladly like to be interviewed with any one of you guys at Wisecrack, where you guys have 2.5 million subs. But you know what? You guys aren't going to ever interview Mark Sargent. Okay.
My heart, trying not to look down on these people, but yeah, we'll see how,
you could have
how good I can
easily,
do.
minus the conspiracy theories, you could easily have been like a Mark Sargent.
I think... Yeah, I mean, I think that we're liable to believe any number of things when we desperately need a sense of community or desperate need for identity. So,
I mean,
yeah.
Flat Earther found him.
See,
and again, he's like, desperation for community and all this other stuff. It's like, why? And again, desperation for belief. Actually, the desperation for belief is to uphold that the government never lies to you. The government never has any conspiratorial efforts. And of course, if you look back into history, you're going to be sorely disappointed of all the things that the government has done. Not just the U.S. government, but all the governments around the world. That is a belief. I'll bet you a lot of money that Jared Bauer believes in the government, some form of religion, money, materialism. I'll bet he believes in all of that. He believes in the system of control. I don't believe in any of that shit. But I'll bet you Jared Bauer does. And he's probably got a pretty big community longing for it. I'll bet you he would never even think about moving to a place like Columbus, Nebraska. Or how about going on a show of his own without other people on it? I invite anybody on, but you know what? I keep going at it alone too because nobody joins in the conversation. So, community, no, I'm not looking for it. I want answers. I'm looking for more information, more knowledge. And I can't do that if I'm going to just have a cup full of my own prejudices of what knowledge is and the information that I have. I believe is accurate because it's that information is being given to me by some elite form of control. No. Empty your cup. Use your own thinking. And the people who believe... That's when people say, hey, these people believe in flat Earth? No, we don't believe. We know. The ones who are believing are the globe earthers. Everyone is believing in something, that the earth is a globe, by believing in people in power, by believing people who say, hey, this is science, hey, this is technology, hey, this is what we see, and we have the authority and we have the resources to see it, and we're telling you what we're seeing, and you have to believe it. And if you're not, then you're just a crazy loon. It's like, no. I mean, there's reason for you to lie. You've got plenty of millions of dollars a day, billions overall for a couple years. And we're saying, hey, you have all those resources. Can't you just do this? It's not hard. We do this almost every day. We take thousands of pictures and we don't get paid for it. But you guys are getting paid millions of dollars a day, and you guys aren't taking any pictures. What the fuck are you doing? Yet people will believe in those forms of authority. I don't want to believe in any of it because I know that they're just going to lie. That's why I don't believe. That's why I'm an agnostic. I mean, you never know at any rate. And here's the thing. Here's the thing with agnosticism. Look, there's most likely higher forms of being, most likely some form of God, or the highest of the high, the almighty, whatever it is, something that's unnamed because it's been there first, hasn't been named. Suppose it created everything. But then again, there's probably, if that highest of the high can create everything, who's to say that it hasn't created something else that can create other things? Just like we can create things. We can create code within a digital realm. We can create stories that we come up with on our own. We create. Human beings can create. And to think that something out there, just because, I mean, we can't even experience it. We like, I haven't met any higher being yet. But to say someone else has and we have to believe that person, it's like, no, well, have that being show themselves to me and prove it. And again, maybe they have special powers. Like, who's to say that a higher being than us, not God or higher than God or whatever, just whatever, just a higher advanced form. Maybe it's like a superhero or something like that. Superman, they can fly, they can create illusions, whatever. And it's like, they say they're God, and like, okay, I mean, prove that you're God. And they'll be like, there's illusions, here's a past history of the universe that I created, etc. It's like, well, yeah, okay, but does that mean you're God? And then we really can't know. We just have to make a most educated guess. I mean, like, look at Q in Star Trek. Can pretty much do anything a god does, but is he the creator of humans? Is he the creator of Earth? Is he the creator of the universe? So, you know, that's the thing. You can't really know. It's hard to. And we all want to know, but you know, if it was so easy to know, especially like what happens after death, we would know. No one has really died, come back in our lifetimes. The only stories that we have are of Jesus Christ. He died and came back, and you know, that story is over 2,000 years. 2,000 years ago. So, I mean, who are we to believe some stories of things that have been written not even 2,000 years ago, but a couple hundred years, thousands of years ago, not quite 2,000. And then again, it's it's like that telephone game, you know, you whisper in someone's ear. I just do it with 30 people inside a classroom. You can't even get that right with one sentence. Imagine 100 years passing, and then translations after translations. Man, things are going to be so different. And so, that's why I look at different information from all sources. It doesn't matter where, and see where it matches up, where it doesn't. The more separate it is, more that there's no clear line that they're related at all. I mean, the most distant, different relations possible. And then when they have the same story, the same ideas, same creation story, the same maps or whatever it is, there's identical symbols, etc. Where our current history says they were just kind of ancient people, not really high in technology. They thought crazy stuff about their mythologies. Yet when we actually have people, archaeologists, kind of looking into the different civilizations, well, they visited each other and they knew that there was an America, and these were thousands of years ago. Really? And so it doesn't match up at all with our current history. And then most people get to here or wherever by saying, I don't believe in the official story of 9/11. I don't believe in the official story of the invasion of Iraq war and WMDs. I don't believe in the official story of Russia Gate and Russia. I don't believe in whatever it is that you don't believe. Most likely it stems from corporate mainstream media that you don't believe in, the sources, the U.S. government and their lies. Doesn't matter who the politicians are. And then what you don't realize, or what you do realize, is that the current events that you are witnessing now, or the past current events where you know that they've been lying and creating propaganda, that stuff is in the history books. Your kids, my kids, they're going to read all of that, and they're going to be reading the official story. They're not going to look into 9/11 and all these psyops and invasions and the constant war and all this other stuff, and have a different viewpoint, because they're just going to go by the history books. And same thing, we've been going by the history books, and the more we look into the details outside of the public educational system, we're going to see like, holy shit, this is all wrong. We've all been lied to. And then that stuff is pretty hard to do, because they've burned books in the past. The whole Library of Alexandria, all those books gone. And that's just one big event in history. There's probably numerous places. You'll see every war that we have. Taliban, of course, they're probably made up, or probably some CIA as well. I don't know, because we don't know. There's always news and stuff of like they're destroying buildings, monuments. I mean, I think I read or saw a newspaper article years, if not a decade or two ago, of some place in the Middle East, and they're just destroying Buddha statues in that region. So I don't know why they didn't do that way before, but they just started doing it. And it's like, that kind of sucks. They're just destroying all these religious artifacts from all over the world. So it's kind of sad. So who's this? Like, we're not going to know if they destroy everything. And then look at the current way we have our information now. It's all digital. What was great in the 80s and 90s, when you had all these mom and pop used bookstores, all these used bookstores went out of business, is that you could find a lot of books there from the 1800s, 1700s even. I mean, pretty old. You can't find those books anymore. It's hard to find. They're gone. I don't know what happens when the used bookstores go under. Books go somewhere. And so you can't find those books again. All we've got are the internet. Maybe there are a few people who have some of these older books where they go ahead and relate online. Some YouTube videos or something like that, saying, hey, look, here's this. This is interesting. And then, of course, back then, who controlled the presses at that time? So it gets pretty convoluted and messy. But let's. Oh man, it's only 17 minutes in and it's 3:30 a.m. Let's go for a little bit longer. It's hard listening to these guys. I'm serious. It's hard listening to these folks.
I think Patricia is just way too good for Mark. And
In what way?
A very
I totally
strong
agree.
opinion about this.
I totally
Well, just
agree.
because she's attractive?
Yeah, Patricia's hot.
Okay.
Well, yeah,
And
but
she seemingly
that's not
also
even
has
all
an
of it.
infinite bankroll.
Yeah, I'm like,
It's
what does she
the
do
fact
for money?
that
Yeah.
there's obviously some pretty big red flags with him in terms of relationships. Like when he said that instead of bringing her beloved cats overseas, she should just get different cats. He's
Fuck that guy.
Yeah.
come on,
There's like
guys.
already that. He's trying to like isolate her from her pets.
I'm-
I don't like that.
I mean, that's like
and
thousands of
he-
dollars.
Guys, what are y'all? Oh, these are
and
cat lovers.
He also is when the two of them a few times in the documentary are talking about celebrity, he is kind of trying to hide it, kind of not, but so clearly wants to be the celebrity of Flat
he
Earth.
loves
And
it.
she's just
Of
very
course.
uninterested in that. I feel like she says, you know, the only person I can really trust is myself. I don't want to be a celebrity. I feel like people have come to the Flat Earth community to get away from, she doesn't say this, but these kind of like appeals to authority from like celebrity figures. And whereas he's like, yeah, that's a thing. But
I mean,
he's
he
also silent for like a minute when they ask him if
Exactly.
he wants to be the king of Flat Earth.
Well, like he also wears a shirt that says "I am Mark Sargent, the Flat Earther
Yeah.
extraordinaire" or whatever.
He's
Yeah.
Kanye West wearing a Kanye West shirt.
Patricia, if you're listening, you're too good for him. You can do better.
Jared, I have a question.
Uh-huh.
If your girlfriend or any girlfriend in the abstract, let's say you emergency moved to England and they suggested instead of shipping Woody back, you just got a new dog, would you break up with them immediately?
I wouldn't break up with them. I'd say probably no. I don't know. I mean,
That's not a huge red flag.
yeah, I don't know. I have to think more about it. Obviously, Woody's coming with me, but if not, my mom would take care of Woody, and Woody would have a great life.
No, I'm saying Woody's stuck in England.
Oh, without me? You know what? I don't. Whatever. All right.
He's bringing Woody back. He's
Yeah.
bringing Woody back.
Keep Woody out of this. All right, let's go into a recap, guys. This is going to be a brief recap for this documentary. So, conspiracy enthusiast Mark Sargent is sucked deep into a rabbit hole when he uncovers an old conspiracy theory suggesting that the Earth is actually flat. After months of investigating, Mark uploads a series of videos to YouTube suggesting that the Earth is in fact flat and that Antarctica is actually an ice wall, Game of Thrones style. Mark and a fellow flat earther named Patricia Steer create a podcast together to spread the gospel. They flirt with the idea of entering a romantic relationship, but ultimately decide to keep it platonic. All their community building efforts are in preparation for the inaugural Flat Earth Conference, which over 1,000 people are planning to attend. There are, however, threats to that community as factions bubble up, and a particular flat earther named Math Powerland accuses Mark Sargent of being a government agent and casts doubt on the legitimacy of the entire conference. Meanwhile, a group of engineers called the Globebusters are conducting scientific experiments to prove that the world is flat, which includes buying a $20,000 gyroscope that ends up suggesting that the Earth is round. They then prepare to emit a laser across 3 miles to determine if there is curvature to the Earth. The conference goes on without a hitch, and after a bit of tinkering, they perform the experiment, which, again, only affirms that the Earth is round. End of movie. All right, guys, before we move on, I want to give a shout out to our sponsors over at Mubi. You guys know Mubi. If you listen to the podcast, they've been great friends to us, and it's an awesome service. So Mubi is a curated streaming service showing exceptional films from around the globe. We like to appreciate kind of the obscure artistic films here, and that's all that Mubi is about. So every day, Mubi premieres a new film. It'll either be a timeless classic, a cult favorite, an acclaimed masterpiece, a movie you've been dying to see, or maybe you've never heard of before.
Let's skip whatever their ad is for.
They're all featuring right
so many hit
kind of another New York-born Scorsese-esque. I mean, his movies are very different from Scorsese, but he's also kind of a cinema's bad boy, and a very iconic. Oh fuck, I can't remember his name. What is the name of Christopher Walken? Christopher. What I want to ask you guys about is the title of the documentary. Earlier, I talked about not disparaging people who believe in conspiracy theories. Is there a double meaning going on here? Is it that behind the curb is like saying that? Doesn't people say like, oh, he's a little behind the curb?
Oh, curve.
The curve. I'm sorry.
I didn't even notice that actually,
granted.
but yeah,
Exactly.
I totally see that now.
Am I overthinking this,
I don't
or is
think
that
so.
what you got?
I don't think you're
I
overthinking.
didn't think of it that way, but you are 100% right.
Yeah, totally.
You are right. I also hadn't thought of it, but there's so many more obvious titles that if they chose that one, it had to be a play on that.
Because I just think of, of course, in The Dark Knight, the Joker says, I'm just ahead of the curve. And so now I'm like, oh, this is behind.
Gosh, it's like 23 minutes in. They don't really have one big argument for flat Earth or against the globe Earth model. They're talking about the Mark Sargent, Patricia Steer relationship, cats, the name of the documentary. Man, the next hour is just gonna hurt. Oh. Anyways, I guess let's get over it. Let's keep going.
Behind the curve. Wait, aren't they saying that these people are kind of... Actually, I wanted to hear what you guys think about the entire method of the documentary. The documentary is constantly undercutting the claims that the flat earthers are making, which, of course, they should if they're making false claims. I guess my question is, do you guys think that they do it without being insulting, or is it insulting? Should it be insulting? I went into this podcast thinking to myself, like, okay, how do I go into this while not seeming insulting to flat earthers? Just like how at the end of the documentary, the scientists try to say, like, okay, these people work really hard. They have very scientific minds. They're just a little bit misguided. So, yeah, what do you guys think? Is the documentary, does it orient itself appropriately? Is it a little bit too mean? What do you think?
I think it's like a hard especially when you're making a documentary and you're editing it and putting cuts together, but it's hard when someone says something verifiably false and you have this comes up all the time. Someone like a politician says something that's a lie. What do you do? As a newscaster, do you say that is empirically false? What do you do? And for when you're making a documentary, the easiest way to do that is to just, oh, they said something and we...
I don't know who the guy is that's talking. It's like verifiably false. Give us what's the verifiably false thing that they're saying. He just says, hey, when someone's making something verifiably false, it's like, what is the verifiably false claim that they're saying? I don't like listening to whoever it is that's talking.
Can't just let people think that's true. We need to give them the truth. But when you just cut to the complete opposite of what they're saying, I could see how it seems a little insulting. But to be honest, like Mark Sargent is sitting there kind of smugly, like at the NASA thing, like, oh, this dumb NASA shit's broken. And then they just zoom in on the
smug
start button,
right? That
which is like it's a very like it's a moment from The Office, the TV show, which is so fucking amazing. But what are you supposed to do? Are you supposed to sit there and let people believe that he is right and it was a dumb piece of shit that didn't work?
Like, I don't know if I haven't watched Behind the Curve. I know it's just propaganda to make people who are flat earthers look like they're crazy or needy or whatever it is. It's just pure entertainment value. Probably doesn't even get to the basic part of, okay, let's break down the globe Earth model. Okay, give us your best evidence. Just start somewhere. Give us your best evidence that the Earth is a globe, and we'll start there. I mean, every debate, I would probably just say, okay, who's that guy? Who's that conservative? It's like, change my mind. Okay, it's like I'm a flat earther. Change my mind. Give me your best evidence for globe Earth. It's like, NASA has a photo. So, okay, look at that photo. Did they just take a photo and just put it up on the web? I mean, how many photos do you have from NASA of Earth? It's the full globe Earth, seen from afar, whatever distance. How many pictures are those? I think you'll find 8 from different decades. Just 8? And they can go pretty much everywhere in space. They've only got 8 photos, and then you look at them and they're all photoshopped. What? It's like, no, they're not photoshopped. There's someone who admits that they're creating the globe Earth image, and it's photoshopped because it has to. And then you look at the there's go on NASA.gov. Here, let's just go there too. If we go to Earth Photoshop, NASA.gov, shopped clouds. Where is it? This is. I don't want to go to QA. Let's go elegant figures. All right, this is elegant figures crafting the blue marble NASA Earth Observatory. This is NASA.gov. Earth Observatory, NASA.gov. And they're going to have photos of the Earth marble. And this made on Mac, of course. Thanks, Steve. Hey, let's go and zoom in. And you zoom in. You got pretty identical, easily photoshopped, duplicated cloud structures. Here, 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 here. Here, let's see. There's other spots. I think, let's see. Sorry, I'm trying to look behind my webcam. And then you got that glow that's always here. That would be the sun's reflection or whatnot. And let's see. Here and here, just that one's just slightly larger than this. I mean, you could just look. You got that same shape right here and right here, just slightly different detailed. So it's like, oh, it's just the Earth creating same patterns, etc., etc. And then one of the details that I like showing is you see the outer curve of the Earth. And if you look at the details, if you look in, take a picture of the moon. I've taken pictures of the moon. The edge is nowhere like this little haze. Of course, people, I guess, will say there's the atmosphere. That's why it's the different levels of atmosphere. Well, apparently, scientists have said that the moon is within the Earth's atmosphere. So how does that work? And then, of course, you never see any stars behind this composite of the Earth. And then, of course, if you go and look at other photos of the Earth, you're gonna see just the different sizes of the continents and whatnot. So, yeah, just go and just look at the details of the Earth photographs, all the Earth photographs that they have. It's not hard. They all provide them. They all tell you what everything is. Let's see. And this is supposed to be the classic photograph, December 7th, 1972. And they only, I guess, took one picture of it, huh? Back in 1972. They didn't take more. And of course, this one doesn't have the haze at the end. There's a little blurb, whatever that. What is that blurb? Can someone tell me what that blurb is? And let's see. Not a lot of detail. There's always so much cloud cover. Let's see. It's a lot different back then. Where's the sun's haze? Haze is over there, I guess. And I mean, wouldn't it be pretty awesome to take a picture of the the Earth, maybe with the sun behind it or something like that. Look how huge Africa is. Wow, it's so huge. I mean, you know how they have, of course, it's those projection maps of Asia being like 3 times bigger than Africa. Like 3 times bigger than Africa, Asia, all of Asia would be just covering the entire other side. It's like, yeah, they didn't scale things right. All you have to do is just think about it a little bit. No one wants to look into the details or think about it for a little bit. Anyways, you can look into it. All the photos of Earth that they're going to have, I doubt you're going to find more than 10. 10? How long has NASA been around? 60, 70 years? Only 10 photos of Earth like this? That's it? It's like, well, we all know what Earth looks like. It just looks like this. If you want to see Earth, you just buy a globe for your classroom. You know, it spins. You can spin it on its axis. It's like, why do you care what the Earth looks like? We see Earth every day from space, and we give you photos. It's like, look, finally take something further. I mean, did they just? I mean, just look at the angle. No camera takes a square. I don't know if that's exactly a square, but it's like a square picture. So why not just give us the landscape photo of it? I mean, or give us the portrait. It's like, just give us the raw file, whatever it is, whether it's through this one. Give us the raw file if it's a photo. Let us look at it. I mean, why crop this? Give us the landscape. We'd love to see what's more of the space outside the Earth. I mean, why you guys? I mean, is it always going to be like this if we don't ever see any stars? And then, okay, if it's because, like, what would be awesome? So when the sun's on the other side of the Earth, where it's just totally dark, where you should be able to see the stars behind it, around it, it's like, that would be an awesome shot. It's just like you would probably barely see the Earth, but you're gonna see all the stars outside around the Earth. That would be very, very pretty. That would be awesome, wouldn't it? We don't ever see it, do we? No. I mean, I consider myself an amateur because I don't really offer a price for my photos. Anyone who has my photos or seen them, print them out, no cost. I mean, so therefore I'm an amateur, but of course I just take hundreds, if not thousands, of pictures. I take pictures of so many things because everything is so beautiful. And then, of course, Earth, probably the most beautiful thing there. I mean, we take so many pictures inside on Earth, but we've only got, what, 10 Photoshop pictures of Earth's marble, blue marble. It's just a shame. How much are we paying these folks? No one ever thinks about that. They go, oh, well, they got better things to do. They're going to Mars. It's like, all right, you guys are going to Mars. Take plenty of photos of Earth while you're going out to Mars, please. So many different types of photos. Give us the raw files.
I don't know. Even the way the documentary ends, it just ends on them conducting the experiment, which seems to prove that the Earth is round, and then it just says that interesting, and then it's a hard cut and a sound cue as if to say
the best ending in any documentary I've ever seen.
It's almost like it's like a rim shot.
They're laughing at him.
Yeah,
they're laughing at him. I mean, my favorite parts were the shots where they kept showing all the like flat earther memorabilia, like the table, the flat earther table, and like the flat earther toys.
Some of that stuff is beautiful.
Yeah, the domes.
You don't
that
think
guy
so?
makes, they're fucking beautiful.
I
That guy's
think they're
super
just-
talented.
I could not stop watching him make those. I mean, I do just like a little bit of crafts at our craft center, and knowing how much time and talent and skill it takes to put something like that together. It's woodworking, and it looked like he was doing some kind of like sort of glass blowing, and like just really, really a lot of talent and skill. And I don't think it was insulting, because I think that, for example, like they didn't spend time, making fun of this guy. They took time to really put a lot of effort into showing how talented and skilled this person is. And every time they kind of refuted a claim. I mean, there were a few times, like with the start button at the NASA Space Center, where it was snarky. I mean, they definitely had some snarky moments, but I feel like either they just found really good astrophysicists and psychiatrists, or they kind of coached them ahead of time to be respectful. But whenever they would cut to one of the scientists or psychologists who were disputing the flat Earth claims, I felt like they were always pretty respectful. I mean, there was the one astronaut who was like, I can't believe I'm discussing this, but no one was calling them crazy or stupid or anything like that. And that would be so easy to do, I guess, and they didn't. And I thought that it was pretty respectfully done.
Oh, you got to see that behind the scenes footage. It's on Hulu, and it's great. Oh, I'm sure that
behind the scenes of this documentary.
No, I'm just joking. But you know, these guys are like calling them Nimrods and dumbasses.
Obviously, well, what else are you supposed to do? I mean, if you're an astrophysicist.
Yeah, I mean, I just thought, like, comparing this movie to the Fry Fest movie documentary, where
if you're an astrophysicist, you got nothing. You gotta pretty much call them a dumbass, I guess. It's like, like if you're Stephen Hawking, you're gonna be like, hey, look, Earth is demonstrably a globe because we photoshopped a video, edited video to make it look like a helicopter's disappearing over the horizon. Therefore, yeah, flat earthers are idiots. It's like, dude, you've got a show where you get to use helicopters as props to test your observation. And that is very demonstrably faked video. And it's like, you're Stephen Hawking. You're invoking Stephen Hawking. You use Stephen Hawking's name, genius, and you've got to fake your results. Again, you're using science, or you're using science, and you're showing the public. You've got a scientist saying they're not a scientist just so they're on that show. And you've got 3 birds that fly across the same flight pattern in 2 different scenes. One with the helicopter rising and one with the helicopter going down. You're faking the results. Why fake it? If you're using science, you don't have to fake shit in order to prove to that flat earthers that, hey, it's a globe that you're on. No, you don't need to fake it. And to obviously catch something being faked, that means if you go out and you do the test yourself, you know what? I'll bet you anything that it's not going to have the same results. Of course, who's going to use a helicopter? Who's going to be able to fly a helicopter? What people have are P900s, P1000 Nikons that zoom very far. And you can see ships, you have laser tests, you can have whatever, I would love someone had a helicopter, let me film it live. It's easy to do it live. Hey, I'm live streaming on 5 different platforms. I can do it. I just need someone with a helicopter to go ahead and do that. And I'll go ahead and film it. You know what? We're not going to see the same results as we do in Genius by Stephen Hawking. And you know what? What you're also not going to see is very easily video fakery. with 3 birds coming across the same. And you know what? It's easy. Just do it live. Hard to fake things live. At least you can probably pre-tape it and just live stream it. But you can easily show that it is live by, hey, turn on the TV, like what's going on live at that time, and then sync it up with wherever someone else is. Look at the basketball live stats or football live stats. You can say, hey, look, it's being updated in real time. If you're seeing this, I guess, then it's obviously a fake live stream. But live stream will have at most just a 20 to 30 second delay. So it's pretty easy to show that you're actually live and doing things in real time and not faking things to easily prove that it hasn't been faked, and none of the stuff that you're showing live has just been pre-taped and all this other stuff. So all right, yeah, thank you, those 3 birds. You know what, if it wasn't for those 3 birds and this show, look, that's why I say the only reason I'm a flat earther is because of Stephen Hawking and 3 birds. And I don't know if I want to say thank you. It's like, seriously, the scrutiny you get, like, and that's the thing. Any of these people, and I think I'm gonna end it because it's 4 a.m. where I'm at. So 27 minutes, 22 seconds. I'll just leave it here and continue on tomorrow night. All I have to say is, hey, just be a flat earther for a day. Just see what it's like. I'll bet you're not going to enjoy your time, your 24 hours of being a flat earther. And it's like, yeah, just tell everybody, put on Facebook, say, hey, everybody, I'm a flat earther now. It's like, people will be like, hey, what are you smoking? Oh man, this guy's gone crazy. Oh, not so. Next thing you know, he's gonna say governments are liars and 9/11 was an inside job and all this other crap. It probably was an inside job. And then they'll never say, how can you demonstrate that the Earth is flat? Basically, it's like, hey, go outside. Does it look like a globe to you, or does it look flat? Like, it looks flat. Okay, now you're in an airplane. Of course, try to find an airplane that doesn't have curved glass, but pretty much look up there. It should be flat. Does it look flat or does it look curved? And it's like, it looks flat. And then you're gonna listen to your scientism preacher, Neil deGrasse Tyson. He's saying, hey, it doesn't matter, that elevation, how you go up, it still looks flat. And one of the good videos that I like watching, I think it's hilarious, if I can find it. Let's see. It's flat, elevation, Tyson. Let's see. Because there's a show that someone does, I think it's pretty hilarious. I've seen it so many times, but it's funny because when I want to find it, I can't find it. Let's see. Nerds. Is it nerds? Gosh. I hate it when I can't find what I want to find. Maybe it was, excuse me. Oh, maybe, I know. I think it was an atheist show. Atheists. Here we go. Atheist experience. Let's see.
So you think that you can tell us how to live our lives? Now
look at the book of Job. That is, according to most creation scientists, the oldest book.
Dang, pretty.
In Brooklyn, New York. Hi,
How you guys
Victor.
doing?
You're on with Tracy and
Hello.
Callie. Hi. What's on your mind today?
Well, I know you guys have been seeking the
And I watched a lot of your previous shows, and I'm a huge fan, by the way. I was actually an anti-theist. I was actually just completely against the notion of God and just never really believed in God my whole life until I realized that there is a proof for intelligent design and that we're an intelligently designed system. So I guess I'll just get right to it. So we are not on a spinning ball spinning at 1,000 miles an hour going around.
You're saying we're not on it?
No, we are not on a ball.
Are we on anything that's like kind of spherical?
Right.
Okay.
We're on a flat, motionless.
Oh, this is flat Earth. Is this?
Yes.
First, let me just confirm. Like, so you're pitching this as a serious call?
Yeah, no, that's serious. I know it's hard to believe that there's people like us, but there's.
No, believe me, we're aware. I mean, we're aware that flat Earthers exist.
Yeah, I'm curious how that's related to intelligent design. I'm interested in your thought process there.
Yeah, so if we're on a flat, motionless plane, right, that throws out gravity because gravity is what makes planets round. If you throw out gravity, the entire Big Bang heliocentric model is completely destroyed.
Can we throw out gravity, though?
Well, no, what he's saying is that if the Earth is flat, then the gravity model would be conflicted with that because gravity is what pulls, it to make it more round. And I guess the problem that we're going to have with this is that it's not really established that the Earth is flat. So we're not. I'm going to have difficulty moving beyond that question because the whole thing seems to stem.
The horizon is flat. What I'm saying is that, like, if you use your senses, right, you don't feel anything spinning, and you don't see the curve of the Earth at any altitude. And then
you can see the curve of the Earth at certain altitudes, though.
Yeah, I was on a plane to get here, and I saw it.
Yeah.
No.
I'm not being smart. I really, I travel a lot and I fly a lot and I can see the curvature when I fly.
Okay, so 35,000 feet, you can see it, right? That's what you're saying?
Generally speaking, I mean, if the cloud level is low and I can see the horizon, I can see a slight curve to it. Yeah.
Okay, so Neil deGrasse Tyson says that you can't see it at that altitude. So I really.
This really doesn't matter. We have satellites orbiting. Wait, I am not. I'm really.
I love the reaction. All right, and then you follow up with Neil deGrasse Tyson elevation flat. Let's see, D Marble. I think he does a lot of videos of it. It's pretty good.
Shout out to Flat Earth Soldiers Facebook group, posting a clip of Neil deGrasse doing a talk for SXSW. And during this interactive talk, he was on stage answering questions about the cosmos and all that. And topic of discussion came up about Felix Baumgartner's edge of space Red Bull jump. Okay, and there's been a lot of controversy around that. The Flat Earth community has hit on that topic quite a bit. So here's what Neil had to say about that.
And the dude who jumped out of a perfectly good balloon, was it Felix Baumgartner? He would have been about 2 millimeters above the surface of this globe. That's his edge of space jump. Now, I don't. It's fine. He wants to. I don't have a problem if he does it, but the honesty of it would greatly diminish what I think people thought he was actually doing. And not only that, they made sure to photograph him standing there with a really wide-angle lens, which curves horizontal lines. So in the photo, you see this curvature of Earth's surface, and he said, "Wow, he's in space. Look at that." No, he's not. At that height, you don't see the curvature of the Earth if you are 2 millimeters above this beach ball. You just don't. That stuff is flat.
So, Neil deGrasse Tyson. I mean, a lot of people look up to him as the scientism preacher, right? And then you got Victor. I love it. You got Victor, and you got this guy saying, "Yeah, it's when you're up in a plane, it's curved."
We're on a flat, motionless plane, right, that throws out gravity because gravity is what makes planets round. If you throw out gravity, the entire Big Bang heliocentric model is completely destroyed.
Can we throw out gravity, though?
Well, no, what he's saying is that if the Earth is flat, then the gravity model would be conflicted with that because gravity is what pulls, it to make it more round. And I guess the problem that we're going to have with this is that it's not really established that the Earth is flat. So we're not. I'm going to have difficulty moving beyond that question, because the whole thing seems to stem.
The horizon is flat. What I'm saying is that, like, if you use your senses, right, you don't feel anything spinning, and you don't see the curve of the Earth at any altitude. And then
you can see the curve of the Earth at certain altitudes, though.
Yeah, I was on a plane to get here, and I saw it.
Yeah.
No.
I'm not being smart. I really, I travel a lot and I fly a lot, and I can see the curvature when I fly.
Okay, so 35,000 feet, you can see it, right? That's what you're saying?
Generally speaking, I mean, if the cloud level is low and I can see the horizon, I can see a slight curve to it. Yeah.
Okay, so Neil deGrasse Tyson says that you can't see it at that altitude. So I really.
This really doesn't matter. We have satellites orbiting. Wait, I'm really not prepared to have this conversation because.
How can you not be prepared to have this conversation if you know that the Earth is a globe? And then you got, of course, Neil deGrasse Tyson. He's saying it again. Here we go.
He's in space. Look at that. No, he's not. At that height, you don't see the curvature of the Earth. If you are 2 millimeters above this beach ball, you just don't. That stuff is flat.
It's just gold, folks. It's just gold. Oh man. Anyways, I think I'll end it there. I hope you enjoyed it. In a couple hours, you guys get to see more stuff. I'm glad a lot of people keep going with the flat Earth. I mean, they're gonna have to take every one of us down with all our videos, and there aren't many of us, but they're gonna have to take as many people down, and of course we're still going to be on other platforms to be able to watch stuff. So good night, everybody. Thank you. Part 2 will be tomorrow. It's torture listening to this. I mean, I'm pretty sure it's going to be torture watching Behind the Curve if I ever want to get to it. I don't, but it's just painful listening to these guys. Even it's just painful. It's just so painful. Okay. Good night, everybody. Thank you for joining me, Captain Will. Thank you for watching. And see you guys tomorrow night.